somebody had one of y'all had just said something about my mic last video I posted. That's crazy because like 2-3 hours later my shit came. My microphone had came. That's tough. Uh, but yeah, man, let's go ahead and get into this video. For those who don't know Sabu passed. You know what I'm saying, last month or so. Less than a month. Great wrestler, great legend. You know what I'm saying. So this is gonna follow in the wrestling category. Make sure y'all give me a thumbs up.
Joe! Into the barbed wire he goes!
I ain't gonna count. Sabu, crazy.
Sabu shockingly passed away last weekend at the age of 60, just a couple of weeks after his final match on WrestleMania weekend in GCW. The initial shock of his passing has raised a lot of questions as to what exactly transpired between then and his death, with the subject of drugs, murder, and foul play even being suspected by some. Sabu had one hell of an extreme career, including rising to stardom to headline ECW's first pay-per-view in 1997 and be a large part of the promotion's history. But years of wild matches and even wilder bumps had taken its toll on his body. So when GCW announced that Sabu would be main eventing Joey Janela's Spring Break in a no-rope barbed wire match in Las Vegas the day before WrestleMania,
That sounds crazy.
there was a ton of skepticism because this is most definitely not what a banged-up 60-year-old should be doing. But this was Sabu, and Sabu was most certainly going to be Sabu until the end.
Here. Oh no, Joey!
I ain't gonna lie, I look at it as like bro did what he, you know what I'm saying, he did what he loved, you know what I'm saying. If he passed away from that, that's what he loved to do, you know what I'm saying. Just like Sting still, well no, he ain't wrestling no more. But he was 60, so he did it till he was like 60 something, which is crazy for
Oh, but Sabu's the winner! No, never mind!
Throughout his career, Sabu had become famous for no-showing bookings, including his own induction in the GCW Independent Hall of Fame. And he hadn't wrestled at all in several years. Even with a couple of traditional Sabu no-shows and promotional disagreements thrown in along the way, a large percentage of ECW's craziest moments involved him. Sabu, along with another few wrestlers that you can definitely think of,
RVD.
was the personification of the spirit of ECW. Extreme Championship Wrestling was built on rebelling against
Sandman, of course.
wrestling in the world. And Sabu was the ultimate uncontrollable rebel and completely different than the main stars of WCW or the WWF around the time. Post ECW, Sabu continued to be a traveling independent attraction and a big part of the ECW revival in WWE. So you can begin to understand why a crazy, unhinged promotion like GCW would be the perfect and most fitting place for his final match. Shortly after the event of Sabu's final match, Brett Lauderdale, the GCW promoter, went on to say, quote, "Of course no showing was in the back of my mind, but I felt like Sabu was genuine. And one thing about Sabu I've come to learn over the years is behind all of the drama and silliness, Sabu has a lot of pride. And not only did he want to do it, but he wanted to give his best effort." Now, for those of us who are familiar with Sabu, his best is taking something insane, timesing it by 100, and putting a cherry on top. He's as haywire in the best way possible.
Crazy as fuck. Like, definitely crazy. If you know, you know. Like, him and John Cena, like, wow. Y'all gotta go back. Y'all go back and watch this John Cena match right here. That's all I'm gonna say.
As anyone in the history of pro wrestling.
Don't do this! Sabu on the top rope!
It was hard for anyone to imagine that a 60-year-old Sabu could deliver that kind of spectacle like he once did. ECW legend The Sandman went on to say, quote, "He was so revered in the business for just not giving a shit about his body and doing anything any night. He broke his jaw in a match with me. The barbed wire match with Terry Funk, he had his skin ripped open like an inch deep, and he tells Fonzie to go into the locker room and get some tape, and he just tapes up his arm. That's a beast. I'll tell you, I'm never not impressed by the lengths that ECW legends went to not only be extreme, but to prove themselves as the underdog in the scene, which was dominated by two behemoths at the time."
Yes, there was a...
No. Give me that time.
This was the impossible standard Sabu aspired to live up to, and the GCW promoter was fully aware of what Sabu meant to the people coming to the show. The promoter went on to say, quote, "I talked to Sabu a couple of days before the match, and he was telling me, my knees hurt, and this and that. And I said, listen, Sabu, everybody knows you're hurting. You're 20-something years older than the last time you did this. People's expectations are realistic. No one is expecting this to be born to be wired. And he said to me, Good, because it's going to be better than that. But then things take a chaotic turn for the worse on the night of Sabu's final match, April 18th, 2025 in GCW. Nothing was going to be easy with Sabu given his worn-down body and limited mobility after years of in-ring torture and damage. Joey Janela, the event's namesake and Sabu's final opponent, went on to say, quote, I was fairly confident that he was fine. I was kept in contact with him, and he has a team of people around him. They were all saying he was ready to go, that he was going to the gym, that he was on a training program. I believed them until the day of the show, then 2 hours before I got a call. Sabu can't walk. Janela responded by saying, what do you mean, Sabu can't walk? They responded by saying,
He
yeah,
can't walk.
Sabu, something with his knee. They're locked up. He can't walk, and his feet are bleeding. He's not coming. Sabu's not coming. So we talked to indie wrestler Matt Tremont, and Tremont is about to be the replacement for the match. And I feel like this is going to be the most embarrassing moment of my wrestling career. There's 2,000 people here. The show must go on mindset is part of what has killed so many wrestlers in the past, and the fact that you could be so tone deaf to not understand that in that moment is insane to me. Janela continued to say, quote, this is one of the biggest spring breaks ever. The biggest crowd Mania weekend indie-wise. And I'm going to have to go out there and announce that Sabu once again no-showed his own retirement match. To which again, I think it goes without saying, but indie show. Person's health. Meanwhile, Lauderdale, the promoter, was less concerned, going on to say, in the back of my mind, I knew Sabu was coming. I never once worried. If we didn't hear from Sabu, then I would be worried. But the fact he was communicating, I knew he was coming. We are an hour into the show, and I said, just get Sabu here, Janela continued. So,
man, they just trying to get Sabu there, man. Like, I understand it's a retirement match, you know what I'm saying? But damn, the man just said he couldn't walk. Them little ass 10,000 people, y'all could have waited. That just goes to show how bad people are money hungry. You know what I'm saying?
he gave him something called kratom. You can buy it at a smoke shop or something. It's like a legal opiate or something. They said he's hopping on the bed. He's hopping off the bed, and we're going to get him to the show. So he shows up 2 hours into the show. Sabu was on a different fucking planet. Everyone in the backstage was like, what the fuck? Is this match going to happen? And my god, did it happen. I've seen discourse around kratom and whether or not it killed Sabu. In all of my research, seemingly kratom was something that Sabu had been using for years to help get off other substances. And when it comes to getting off other substances, it is a drug that other wrestlers have vouched for. But when it comes to something like kratom, there are kratom poison deaths that have been suspected in the past. But equally, upwards of 60
I ain't
million
never heard
people
of
in the US are using kratom for health reasons. But regardless, I think the way Joey Janela talks about this incident is gross. He's almost treating Sabu like he's a racehorse when he was in no condition to compete, but he forced it anyway. Moments into the match, Sabu went for his signature air Sabu dive off a chair, missed Janela, and went chest first into the barbed wire strands, with his head landing and sticking in a...
Yeah, and I seen, that's the only thing I had seen. I seen like a little clip on Instagram. I'm like, what the fuck? Sabu doing that?
Time create a barbed wire. It was
Seen like some AEW shit.
that this wasn't going to be a nostalgia match, that Sabu was going to go out on his own terms. Then, minutes later, Sabu got whipped into a barbed wire board, which was resting on the barbed wire ropes, and flipped backwards out of the ring, landing in a heap.
Looking to send Sabu into it. Oh no!
Joey Janela would say, quote, he was definitely out cold. He was done. They were telling me there was no way. The refs were communicating to me that there's no way he's continuing this match. Like, holy that is the one time you want the barbed wire to stop you, he just blew right through it. Janela continued saying, and then his old ECW rival, the Sandman, came out, and that was all Sabu needed. Then the resurrection happened.
Is your child struggling with a gaming addiction? Major companies behind games
They wasn't finna get me.
Fortnite and
Dude, he was ready to go again. I guess that concussion knocked him back into 1996 or something. I don't know. Sabu came back and they ran through several more sequences, including Janela taking some big bumps of his own until he was finally pinned by Sabu. Janela saying, quote, just because how ridiculous it was, if you were one of the wrestlers or one of the staff in the locker that night, you knew the panic in my eyes. And to see that get pulled off and the crowd to be on their feet, I mean, it's like dancing through raindrops and not getting wet. Now, in professional wrestling, it's very rare that you get the ending you deserve for one reason or another. Some careers, like the late great Bray Wyatt, never
Bray, man.
and some, like Ric Flair's, appear to go on for a dangerous amount of time. And then you have the legendary Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels, whose career came to a perfect end at WrestleMania 26.
That's one correct end I'll never forget in my life. I remember that shit, bro. That shit broke me. I ain't gonna lie. I be seeing all these kids be crying and shit about wrestling and shit. That was my crying moment in wrestling.
Sabu's penultimate match before this was in 2021 against someone named Mr. California in Stanton, California for a promotion called Extreme World Wrestling in a garage in front of maybe 100 people. That is traditionally how a legend goes out. But instead, for one last night, the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, death-defying maniac as an iconic wrestler of his generation was allowed to be Sabu once again. The chaos, the anarchy, the disregard for his own humanity. He was allowed to be him again. Joey Janela continued by saying, quote, "Everything that happened in that match happened for a reason. I'm just happy GCW gave him the platform in front of a sold-out house to have that moment and be Sabu for one last time. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, one of the greatest innovators of all time. I'm just glad we were able to get it off. Regardless of the circumstances and the conditions of that day, he just made it happen, and I know he was happy. And I'm happy. The fans were happy. His friends were happy. And I'm just glad we gave him the one last chance to shine in the spotlight."
This is your plaque from last year. I know you're going to give it to Johnny Vegas, who's going to hang it up at the nerve. Words. Legend.
Many were understandably quick to criticize the GCW owner and promoter Brett Lauderdale and Joey Janela for the circumstances around his final match, with some even going as far to connect it to his death. Janela and Lauderdale each expressed their sympathies for Sabu's passing while denying any wrongdoing in the situation. As I mentioned earlier, Janela initially said Sabu was knocked unconscious during the match, but went back on this after the fact. Quote, "I did an interview for that article 2 days after the match, not knowing what would transpire weeks later. And I said he was knocked out after that spot when, despite being a rough deal."
But you also gotta feel the guilt too, though, man. Like the man faced a legend, possibly one, you know what I'm saying, possibly somebody he looked up to. I know everybody looked up to Sabu, you know what I'm saying. For him to pass away a couple weeks later, man, I know he gotta feel some type of guilt too, though.
He was not that.
Okay.
I was just trying to add to the law and unpredictability of Sabu. I loved Sabu. He was legitimately my idol growing up and my friend. I just wanted to give him and the fans one last great Sabu spectacle. And of course, Sabu was Sabu. He may very well have wanted to compete and do all of that, and clearly he did to some extent. But if he's in no right mind to compete or make decisions like that, you call it off. In that situation, I don't think you get to go ahead and justify it by saying, but the fans would have been sad. 2,000 people. It's what Sabu wanted
2,000?
Realistically, if you're...
I thought it was damn 10,000 people. Oh, shit. Y'all bullshit. Fuck out of here with that shit.
You see him in that situation.
I thought it was 10,000.
Okay, let's call it this other indie guy. Sorry, guys. It's his health. It comes first. Anyway, Janela continued by saying, quote, "Sabu was fine after, the day after he signed at WrestleCon and has been doing many appearances since. I don't know what the cause of death is. All I can say is I wouldn't change a thing and I'm happy he went out on top." Janela has since responded to the allegations of his wrongdoing on Twitter by saying, "We didn't give him kratom, his team did. It's also not illegal, and 85% of professional wrestlers do it, especially the ones on TV. So fuck you." He continued saying, "People use kratom to get off pills. I didn't give shit to him. Unfortunately, people are acting like I shot someone up with black tar heroin or dropped something in his drink." So what do you think of the Sabu situation and the tragedy?
I honestly feel like, you know what I'm saying, once you pass it, like, you know what I'm saying, like John Cena. John Cena now said, you know what I'm saying, he's finna be 50. So I think it was, no, AJ Styles, but I think John Cena about around there too. He said that's why John Cena on his last tour, and that's why AJ Styles. AJ Styles. I seen what AJ Styles say he leaving when he hit 50. It get to a certain point you gotta care about your health. You know what I'm saying? They've been doing this shit since they was my age. You know what I'm saying? Probably a little lesser. You feel me? They teenagers. So you feel me? It's kind of hard to stop doing some shit that you know to do every single damn near every night for the last past 20 some years of your life. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard to stop. Let me know how y'all feel about this video, man. RIP to Sabu, a good legend. Um, You know what I'm saying? See you when I see y'all. Love y'all. Let's ride, nigga.